Upstream, are you with me? Under rainbow, curtain in the city, rushing through me. Downpour, upstream, are you with me? Feel it.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Adrian Zduńczyk, CMT Charter Market Technician, CryptoBirb. Welcome to today's AMA session, everybody, because we are here joined by our special guests, by our brand new partners, of Wunder Social. And Wunder Social is an incredible platform that is actually going to help us today understand, the merits and the meanders of what we know as the rethinking of social media, right? The real social network, and why is it different? Why is it so important? Why is it so important to own the impact, right? So we're going to have a perfect combination of today's guests at Wunder Social. Gentlemen, how is it going? How are you feeling today?
Good, thanks. Good, yourself?
Very well. All good this end, thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful. Three handsome men right here talking today to us about the ownership, about the impact, about the real social media, right? So kicking it off, basically, what is Wunder, and what sort of problems are we trying to tackle right over here?
I'll start with that one. So Wunder was really born out of frustration that nothing was being done by the big players in that space to combat sort of toxicity, bullying, trolling. I think not a day goes by where I don't read something in the press negative around social. In the news, I speak to a lot of celebrities that have major issues with socials, and it's just seems to have turned into a bit of a cesspit. It's just not a great sort of experience anymore. And I think that's how Wunder was born. It was out of frustration, really, that we spent a lot of time looking into the big players. Why aren't they verifying? Why aren't they tackling down on those sort of toxic behaviors? And the bottom line is the way they monetize their business. They need eyeballs on screens. They need people addicted to their platforms. And I think, if that's your business model, you're encouraged to make people addicted. That make them on, using your platform for as long as possible. So they're not that inclined to put in these procedures. Also, negative content tends to get more traction than positive. So, it was really a case of, as an entrepreneur, sort of sitting down, not trying to reinvent the wheel, just almost take the bits of social that work and remove the bits that don't. And I feel like that's what Wunder's done. Fully verifying people on the platform has numerous effects to the experience. It's going to cut down, we've done a hell of a lot of research, and it's going to cut down a lot of those toxic behaviors. We can't say it's going to eradicate them completely, obviously, but people act better and behave better when you're verified.
Love it so much, right? And ultimately, it's something that I fully agree. I mean, I've been, in the word of those big megaphones, aka the influencers, right, or the KOLs, the key opinion leaders. Anybody who's basically right there, gaining a lot of attention and traction, is going to be ultimately an easy target, right? Especially for the negativity, for the trolls, for the toxicity. And I know it from my own experience, from my own circles, for the people that committed to literally take their own lives, take on their own lives because of that effect. So it's tangible, it's real, it's an existing problem that is a big of a challenge that steps in our way of getting there to a better digital world, right? So how is actually, if we kind of like way put it in simple terms, for our viewers and listeners, how Wunder Social is actually aiming to prepare and to help us get to a better digital world.
Yeah, take that on, Kayne.
Cool. It's a multi-layered approach, to be honest with you. It's not one simple approach. If you think about social media is almost like a window into what are kind of everyday experiences online, right? Most people will, and this just because of addictive algorithms and just what's become the thumb scrolling culture that we're in today. The first thing they'll do in the morning is pick up their phone and check, what's going on in the world, right? So what's happening on Instagram, what's happening on TikTok, what's happening on Facebook, a bit of news feed in between that, maybe some of the newsletters that you subscribe to, or checking a channel like your own, and they'll keep up with the latest things, right? That's not just a social behavior in the normal sense of social media. It's a broader experience of how we interact with the world today. So we had to think, whilst we call ourselves Wunder Social, social actually refers to, that is our social life now, right? It's not just going to bars and clubs and pubs. Our social life is embedded in this little device that's in our hand. So what we're doing now transcends across all of that. And Wunder Social is our first step into an introduction to what it could be like if you embrace the technology that is below it. So the technology below it is the powerful part, right? It's the Wunder protocol. And that starts with the Wunder identity. So the Wunder identity is a zero knowledge proofs approach to allowing people to access our platform without us taking your data to farm it or misuse it or resell it, without you being involved in that contract. So it's a new social contract between the consumer and the platform. The current situation looks like this, and we're all guilty of this. We go online, we want to join a new community, we want to do something, we go log in with whatever platform it might be, X, Facebook, YouTube, whatever it might, Google, whatever it might be. We want people to go log in with Wunder. And the reason we want them to do that is because our SSO platform, which will be tied to a decentralized identification that is self-sovereign, all driven by zero knowledge proofs, all residing on chain, encrypted and protected to your device. So you never pass that critical information to anyone. And that's a super important part of what we do. Now, the verification and validation that happens behind that is wrapped up in a governance layer. And that governance layer is supported by the community. It's a DAO that we're building out over time. So what we don't have, and this is the very significant separator at the very beginning of this experience, is you have someone like Meta, who's a centralized organization that hold the power to your data, and you're trusting them with that, right? To actually decentralizing all of that, but having all the benefits. So you then can take our platform and go, I can sign into that platform, I can do this, but at no point do I compromise my integrity. Now, Wunder Social is going to be the first platform that you can get into using that identity. And then what we do is we tie every experience, everything you do on our platform and future platforms to that identity. It's a mutable proof of ownership. So it's a new social contract again. You then can say, okay, I'm going to post a picture or my creator content on Wunder Social, but I own the IP to that. It's mine. I own the rights to it. I'm not signing away those rights to Wunder Social. I'm actually entering into a smart contract between myself and Wunder Social that says you have the right to publish my material to your community on my behalf. And the data that is gathered on that, within that contract between us, is a shared ownership. So if you want to sell that data, and I am happy to be involved in that contract, I will reap the benefits too. You will share the rewards of selling my content and my data. It's an immediate flip on the head of the way that it operates today. The moment you sign into a platform, you sign away your rights, you sign away all of those things. Now, that becomes the gateway, and that's just an example of where this then leads, because we know who you are, or you know who you are, should I say, and you're protected. The material that you produce gets minted on chain, immutable proof of ownership at point of inception. Then you can license that material. So when somebody wants to come along and remix it, someone wants to come along and clip it and create their own content, that's not a problem. And we see this on YouTube. YouTube's a great example of this, right? People clip other people's content all the time, and then that clipped content goes viral and the original content doesn't. So that viral content, which is a monetized channel, is making money off the back of content they've clipped. They have no right to that content. So where's the contract? Who's getting exploited? The creator, right? It's there. But what if they didn't have to do that? What if they could just say, I'm going to clip your content and make a piece of content. You engage in a contract with them that's a smart contract, and in our case, a secret contract, because that's your private financial business. We've partnered with Secret Network and the guys at Silent Swap to deliver that mechanism. And that remixer can go off, make the content, clip it, create it, go viral themselves, and the original creator benefits as well. Now what you've done is you've created a relationship, because you own the original piece, They've created their own original piece based on yours. It's a transparent relationship and everyone wins in that value chain. Now, we as Wunder Social win because you've done that exchange with us. You've used Wunder token to achieve that. So that's our Wunder token having real world utility. You're going viral either on our platform or other platforms, but the contract is the financial benefit, right? So you win, we win, the world wins. Consumers get their content, creators don't get exploited. We monetize our platform. And guess what we don't have to do? Sell the consumers eyeballs. So then we don't have to have a business model like the competitors that is highly reliant on ad revenue. We will have advertisement because we'll have brand partners, but we're not selling your eyeballs. The technology play or the opportunity that Web3 technology brings provides an entirely new revenue model in the social space. And it's not social media, it's the social space. Every interaction we do online now is social. Let's think about the journey. Web 1 was static web. Web 2 was engagement, right? It was buying stuff, it was getting on social media, it was more interactive. Web 3 is the ownership of that. It's taking back the power of an industry that's evolved underneath our eyes over 20 years now, but it's never really been controlled by us. It's been controlled by some overlords that at the moment, and they're literally pushing an open door for us, are exploiting us more and more every day. They are shadow banning. They are driving opinion on their platforms. They are controlling what does and doesn't go viral that suits their narrative or the political interests they have or who they're supporting or they're leaning towards. Social media wasn't about that. Social media and social is about freedom of speech. It's about freedom to do what you want to do online. So by democratizing access to the mechanisms that do this, that enable the creators, we're taking that power away from a centralized organization and we're just the conduit to it. So the power of the technology, you get your ID, you prove that you own something, and then we open up the doors. And then we've got a future roadmap of things that we can do because we've given ownership back to the users. No, we're not.
So we just said we should let Adrian go. I know, like what you're saying. Yeah. No, because I know that Adrian had a list of questions, and I hate to stop paying the flow because he's so passionate about it. But I know we want to keep this. For your viewers, so I want Adrian to make sure.
That's all right. That's all right. Well, that's all right. Well, I admire the passion. I admire the passion, gentlemen, that you have for it. I admire the passion because the problem is real, it's tangible, it's substantial, it's existent, and there is a solution, right? And this solution comes through the power of technology, for the Web3, just like you meant, the actual ownership of the data and the decision upon the users, how do you want to play it out? And ultimately, we have the tools such as the real digital assets, such as the NFTs, such as the Web3 wallets, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about a little bit, how does the funnel work? How does it make it all possible for all the people, to take an actual ownership through the means of Wunder Social?
I pretty much covered it before, so I will keep this one shorter. But basically, mint your ID on chain, so create your Wunder ID. That creates a channel for you, effectively, a space on our space. We then have a storage layer that sits below that. And when you mint your content on chain, we use a distributed online storage mechanism that are, again, our governance layer controls. So we buy storage and we provide storage to the platform at the optimum price, and the DAO arranges that. You then store your content on chain. You then decide of that content what you want to push up to Wunder Social to be consumed by the platform. On top of that, we have a traditional social model where, and again, it's familiar but different. It feels like a typical social media platform. It's just powered by the Web3 capabilities. But your content owned by you is then shared through our platform and our community can consume it, wrapped in the typical social media experience, likes, comments, direct messaging, sharing of content, all those things, plus a few little bells and whistles that
I think the really important thing about that as well is that often when you're talking about like a Web3 project, which obviously we're building on that, the primary audience that we see for Wunder Social is that Web2 audience, right? So we know that there's 50 million people who are passionate about Web3 technology. They get blockchain, they understand it, but we think there's potential and capacity for this technology, this amazing technology that does all these great things that Kayne's talked about, that don't know what it is. They don't understand how to use a wallet. They don't even want to understand how to use a wallet. So the idea is to make the UX so slick and so simple that people understand it. We talk a lot about hiding the wires, and I previously worked at TikTok for 6 years, helping grow the European business in Europe. And I saw firsthand how TikTok democratized creativity across everybody, right? People now know how to edit videos on their phone because of the tools TikTok gave them. It was like getting Final Cut in your pocket. We truly believe that Wunder has the power to democratize Web3 technology to people and make minting content, make ownership of assets, make owning a digital wallet very much commonplace through split UI, easy to understand, and just being really practical for people to use.
I love it. I love it so much, especially, because like I said, it makes it very, very compatible with what the typical Web3 experience, should be, because at the end of the day, it's about the simplicity, right? If we kind of like put too many of the options, people, we all have the analysis paralysis, right? So we need a clear pathway basically to realize our goals. And in terms of clearing the way, for the data ownership, through the blockchain, this is all transparent. This is all powered through the speed of the connectivity, right? That is not really on par with anything else. It's truly above and beyond. So ultimately, with the solution, so let me just pull up the beautiful website that you have, and I want to give you a beautiful appreciation for what you guys did, because it's a beautiful piece of an art right there. And if we go through Wunder.social and go straight to the app, right? This is where, first of all, we can claim the username. And if we click on the username claim, there is like a little bit of a brochure, a little bit of a questionnaire, right? And the question that I see a lot of people, in the Web3 may have in terms of the anonymity of that and against the KYC, right? So how does Wunder Social really position against the against the balance? Is there how do you keep the balance between the privacy and the KYC and the usability?
Yeah, so the zero knowledge proof capability is what it's all about, right? So we'll run the KYC, and this is something we're building out at the moment. I don't want to give too much information about it because some things are changing in it at the moment, but we're working with a partner who we haven't announced their partnership yet, so I have to be really careful about what I say. But effectively, they provide us with a zero knowledge proof capability to KYC the users, and then we drive that back into an NFT that produces. It's like producing circuits. For anybody who knows how ZK proofs work, but it's like producing circuits. But we're producing an NFT that sits inside of the Wunder wallet, and when you approach another platform, it effectively checks that for a bunch of booleans that come back. We don't ever hold the data, right? It's cryptographically protected and done. The initial kind of there where we do the initial data capture was quite literally just to get people into the ecosystem, and we had to make it feel like a Web2 experience. So there's the first name, there's the last name, there's the email and stuff like that. Okay, fine. It's really normal. But what's happening in the background is what matters, and how we're processing that data in the background. And that's wrapped in the governance layer, right? And that is where the DAO is controlling that entity for us. So everything that business part of the business does, like how we manage the data, how it's sold, how it's consumed by. So for example, if you talk to the community, and we've got a vast amount of research that supports this, you can say certain companies to a large proportion of the population, and they will say, I do not want that company to have my data, right? I just don't want them to have my data. And we could name them, and we'd all know those names. The DAO would decide, hey, listen, we don't want you to do a data deal with those guys. That's it, it's done, right? It's not for us to do. So the Wunder identity in itself, that data never lives with us. It's decentralized at point of entry. It goes on chain. It's all cryptographically protected. We use a bunch of secret mechanisms that, again, until we announce the partnership, I'm not allowed to say. You're allowed to talk about. Yeah, I'm not. No, right, okay. Just wanted to check.
No. Sorry,
yeah.
These two were a PR nightmare.
I'm just waiting to break the news.
Yeah. But that's the thing with it. Yeah. So we're not taking the data.
Got you. It makes all the sense in the word. And you've said there are a lot of token related and app related kind of like releases that are gonna be some in the pipeline coming up in the near and more distant future. For the power of decentralization, you're able to reach out with the Wunder ID, which is something marvelous, quite honestly, right? So if you don't mind kind of like spilling a little bit of the truth for our viewers and listeners, or just cutting across Wunder Social, how is that going to work? How is it going to be compatible, for instance, with, just like you mentioned, the cryptographic content protection and with the data ownership? Is it going to be all put together alongside the KYC, or is it going to be like different not token related releases?
So it's a roadmap of technology development that have dependencies built within it. So we have an order in which we need to build this. The identity has to come first because we have to give the consumer an entry point. then it's the ability to get that content on chain, and then it's an ability to monetize that content. So that's kind of the roadmap at a high level. We have a big chunk of the Wunder identity stuff built already. We do actually have a Web2 MVP that's been in the App Store that we've kind of run various tests with, and we've worked with consumer learning groups and stuff like that. We're not new kids on the block, just to be really clear. We started this mission nearly 4 years ago during lockdown, right? We've gone through, we've already raised quite a bit of money to get us to where we are today, and that's involved an extensive beta test round, an extensive research project, right? So we're already in build. So the release map between now and let's say September is quite intense. Identity, our go-to-market strategy, our putting content on chain, our decentralized storage, like all those things are going to come online throughout this year. Not all by September, just to be really clear. They're going to come online throughout this year, and the social element will be delivered within that. But yeah, so it's the ID itself is going to be the first thing that you'll see. Then we'll have a queuing system, which is all about getting people to engage with the token, getting people to engage with Wunder, getting people to engage with one another, and then get access to exclusive experiences. And then it will be moving into more of a traditional social model. But there's a bit of a journey to go on throughout that.
Got you. Makes sense. And like I said, I reiterate that I admire the passion, that you have towards, speaking for it, because I know it's genuine, right? At the end of the day, like I said, we all struggle with the same problems. And just like you raised, a very important topic, there's this e-commerce emergence, this social media platforms emergence of the COVID basically that put us right there, lockdown, the entire world went, under the lock. So this forced, I'd say, this forced in even poured in even more negativity, right? Coming from the people's frustration, putting it literally right there. And the bot floods, that are, and that is quite a challenge, I'd say, globally, since, blockchain can be a solution, can be an answer, just like you have right here with Wunder Social, to present this opportunity to eradicate and erase, those bot dependent kind of like, numbers, outreach content. And there's so much of it. Jesus, I mean, it's ridiculous, right? And Elon Musk himself, with the X and with Mark Zuckerberg and any other social platform right there, it's there. The bots are still there. They are coming, they are going, they are keeping basically up flooding, the socials day in, day out. And it really seems that not until we've implemented blockchain for the actual data encryption, the ownership, and the power of the tokens verification, and other types of assets, such as, for instance, the tokenization of real world assets, which is something that I want to move on shortly towards. It seems that it's all kind of funneling through the Wunder Social. So it makes me excited. It makes me really excited to ask about this one of the final bets, for the today's AMA. With our Wunder Social, everybody, but brand new partnership, incredible people, very, very smart, passionate about the combination of blockchain and social impact right there, the real social network. And the thing that's been on the roll, and that is unquestionable, is the real world assets, right? Is the tokenization of the assets. We have Larry Fink, who talks about the tokenization of the assets as the next generation of stocks, next generation of bonds, next generation of securities. He urged some time ago the SEC basically to take on, the urgent steps to legalize, to regulate, this entire space of tokenized assets. Besides, BlackRock has already, kicked off and launched their own tokenized platforms, their own tokenized vehicles. So it's happening. So the final question that I deem may be worth you asking is, from the perspective of viewers and listeners, is what about the RWAs, right? So where's the RWAs coming in play for the Wunder Social?
Another one for you, Kayne.
Okay, right. So RWAs is an interesting one, right? Because our actual initial approach to tokenization of real world assets came about from our partnerships that again, I'm not allowed to talk about them specifically, but what I can tell you is that we have lots of connections with the music industry. We have lots of connections with like production and TV production companies. And if you look at the future of TV, which is a really scary space right now, and it's in a real transition, is that production companies aren't just focusing now on making long-term projects because the money's just not there for some of them, right? The rise of Netflix and that sort of license-based consumer interaction, cinema down, and people doing stuff at home has changed that game massively. So when we were talking to those industry leaders and like heads of major record labels, like the biggest in the world, right? Massive ticketing companies who organize huge gigs, production companies behind a lot of the big productions that we watch on Netflix and Prime and stuff like that every day. They all said the same thing. Like what they don't have is a direct connection with their community. How do they bring their community closer? How do they get them to stick? Because the attention span is so short with the upcoming generation. So, and it's all about brand loyalty. And it's really hard to get today, right? Most of the big record labels, for example, make more money out of their back catalogue than they do the new artists. So new artists don't get the attention they want. So our approach to real world assets began there. And we looked at this and we said, well, what if an artist could go onto their socials, talk to their community and say, I've got a forthcoming album and I want the community to benefit from it. So I'm going to tokenize the future royalties of my album, and I'm going to allow you to buy into it. And I'm going to use those funds to produce the album. And that smart contract between us, between me and you, is going to provide you with access to royalties in the future. And you do two things there. You get the album produced, and you create an enormous amount of loyalty from your community, because they're going to shill that like crazy because they're benefiting, right? So they've bought into something they care about. And when you look at like the stocks and shares and stuff like that, a lot of people don't know what they're buying, so they don't do it, right? They go to platforms like yours to learn to trade. They go to other places, right? But to buy the future royalties of an album, it's like, oh, okay, I get it. That artist makes millions off their album. I can buy a percentage of that. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
I'll buy it.
Brings them closer to the artist.
Way closer.
It's very similar to like almost like the Patreon model, but the people that are investing in it are seeing the rewards for it. You can imagine this suddenly being like they get the golden circle when they do an arena tour. They get all the access to merchandise quickly. It's a new era of fandom that allows people to become like owners and part of the artist's journey, which I think can be quite incredible.
Yeah, and that kind of that's just the future royalties. But anything that's kind of IP based has an opportunity to be tokenized. So we're looking at it from that perspective. Now, obviously, there are other real world assets that are more practical and easy to do. And Wunder Social will definitely explore those. But that's the angle that we're taking initially.
Love it so much. And before we get on a roll for today's final statements, from our incredible partners at Wunder Social, is there any particular platform that you deem is the best for the people to discover more about Wunder Social? Is it going to be your X with the handle Wunder_social, or is it something else?
Yeah, well, I think our X is where we drop all our latest announcements. If you scroll down, you see that our token went live yesterday on Mexi. So, if you like what we've heard, there's opportunities to get involved. We'll be sharing all of our partnerships on there. We've got a really exciting partnership that we are announcing this afternoon, which should be really good. We also have our Telegram channels, which are again under the Wunder Social umbrella. So literally after this, we're going to be jumping on and doing a town hall with our community. It's super active, lots of people getting involved and sharing. We're going to be sharing what we're all about. X and Telegram are the places to hear what we're up to and find out what's going on. This week, while we've been here for TG, I've been doing a live everyday video blog of what's going on. So come along on the journey and be part of building something great.
Love it so much. And if we were to give a final kind of like a golden quote, golden thought, to cap this incredible MA session, what's it going to be? A golden takeaway for our viewers and listeners.
Wunder is going to be the real social network.
Love it so much. The Real Social Network, Wunder Social, have been incredible guests to our today's AMA session, everybody. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for the wealth of wisdom and the generosity of your time, because I know you're busy. It takes time to change the world, and it seems you're going there step by step, and I'm looking forward literally to see where it's going, because from what I'm seeing, from what I think is gonna happen in the next couple of months, there's a perfect alignment. The stars have aligned. We've got all the forces, basically aligning in the direction of the actual powerhouse, for the Wunder Social as well, to grow, thrive, and go straight to the victory. Thank you so much for the session, gentlemen. I've been your host, Adrian Zduńczyk, CMT Charter Market Technician, CryptoBirb, and I welcome you guys to the